Legal and illegal immigration are the biggest issues facing Britain. If we fail to deal with them, we will lose our country forever if it isn't already lost. And today was a huge day. Labour Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood outlined her new plan. So here they are in full. Now, I'm going to ask you to bear with me here, but I think it's really important that we go through all the detail on this. So, refugees will be given 30 months leave to remain rather than the present 5 years. It can be renewed if they are still in need of protection. Refugees must spend 20 years in the UK before they can get settled status, and that status will have to be earned. No automatic right to bring family members to the UK. Refugees will be encouraged to move to a work and study route. They will need to obtain employment or study at an appropriate level and then pay a fee. Benefits will be prioritised for those making, quotes, an economic contribution to the UK. So a cut down to the current benefit system. More on that later. This is an interesting one as well. They're going to take jewellery and assets from asylum seekers and use that to fund their accommodation. But what about support like benefits and housing? So what about that is going to happen now in this latest announcement? Well, the government will end the legal duty to provide asylum seekers who would otherwise be destitute with support. Apparently, it's just going to be provided on a discretionary basis. Those who can work and have a right to do so will be denied benefit support, including people who came to the UK on student visas before claiming asylum. No support for those who, quote, deliberately make themselves destitute. There will be support, or conditional support anyway, with sanctions for criminals and those who refuse to cooperate. People will be required to contribute towards the cost of asylum support where they have assets or income. That's, again, a bit about their kind of taking their money off and basically and using that to pay for their accommodation costs. Asylum seekers could be moved out of hotels into military camps and repurpose schools, community centres, conference venues and disused industrial sites. This is another interesting one. They're going to use new AI technology to detect their age, which is interesting because earlier today we had a case of a man with a receding hairline managing to successfully claim that he was 15 years old. So I'm not sure you need AI technology, but alas, they're going to use it anyway. But what about illegal migrants who are working here illegally? So there's going to be more right-to-work checks at places of work with penalties for employers. Digital ID, they say, will be mandatory to prove that right to work. But OK, what about deporting people? It's a biggie, this one, really, isn't it? Well, families who claim asylum and have been rejected will be deported, apparently kids included, if they refuse the existing financial incentives for them to just return home. There's also going to be these things called return hubs in third countries. They're also going to do this thing where they're going to resume removals to countries like Syria if they are now classed as safe. And we've seen this, haven't we? You know, the war kind of ended in Syria, and then there was that question mark about, well, why don't we make all those Syrian refugees go home if their country's safe? Well, apparently they're going to do that. They're also going to deport foreign offenders from the first day of their sentence, which is interesting because at the moment you have to have more than a year and then you're still not going anywhere, are you? What will we do, though, to punish countries who refuse to take back failed asylum seekers or criminals that we want to deport? Well, this is interesting as well. Countries that fail to cooperate and facilitate the return of their citizens will apparently face visa penalties. So we'll basically, my understanding of this anyway, is we'll clamp down on the number of their citizens who can come and work and live in the UK. Now, the countries that she's named so far have been Namibia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I think Angola. Again, more on that later. Also, they're going to expand the existing returns deals that we've got. What about the failed asylum seekers who keep appealing their deportation? Well, apparently, they say that fast-tracking claims with a low likelihood of success will help speed that up. The other thing is that apparently now they're going to be allowed just one appeal. Right, well, you know, another biggie here is, well, what about the ECHR? Because, you know, all of this crumbles, doesn't it, as long as we've still got some kind of deference to our European friends. Well, apparently a fundamental reset of Article 8, which is that right to a family life. They're going to say it only applies to immediate family. And also, Article 8 applications can only be made by people who are already living in the UK. Well, at face value, this is pretty strong. And I hope it works. I think it has to work. But here are several reasons to be really sceptical about this. Shabana Mahmood previously called for an amnesty for all undocumented workers in the UK, which is literally the opposite of what she's saying now. She also travelled to a Greek island to welcome illegal immigrants arriving in Europe.
Lesbos, where boats have been coming in all day. Around 30 boats have arrived already today. There's a couple of charitable organisations on the ground here, one of whom is offering immediate medical assistance.
She also signed a letter trying to block the deportation of Jamaican criminals, one of whom went on to murder someone with a machete. So, why hasn't Shabana Mahmood included Pakistan in that list of countries that she is definitely going to threaten with visa sanctions if they refuse to take back illegal criminals and illegal migrants, etc.? Like, for example, the rape gang monsters. So that's the big test, all right? Getting Pakistan hauled over the coals for not doing this is the big one. And I don't think she'll ever do that, in my opinion, because of the demographics of her seat and loads of other Labour seats. Shabana Mahmood might be trying to do the right thing now, but she and pretty much every member of this Labour government have been part of the problem for over a decade. Now, Labour MPs are going to rebel over it. There are currently 18 Labour MPs, some of whom are flashing up on your screen right now, who definitely oppose it. The left-wing press, they oppose it. Left-wing commentators, they oppose it, including the commissioning editor and reporter at Novara Media, Rivka Brown, who appeared to compare the threats to take jewellery off small boat migrants to what the Nazis did to the Jews in the concentration camps in World War II. So, there you go. Yeah. That's where we are at the minute. The big question is, of course, will this actually work? Given the fact that Labour have U-turned on so many other things now, I'm not sure they're going to be able to get this over the line. Not long ago, I introduced Claude Note, a powerful AI-enabled meeting assistant, and today we're excited to have in hand Claude's latest upgraded version. Is this a platinum credit card? Nope. It's Claude Note Pro, your updated AI-powered meeting assistant. With 4 built-in microphones, Claude Note captures everything and records crystal clear audio up to 5 meters away. But it's more than a recorder. Take photos, jot ideas, mark highlights, and during key discussions, if I press the button just right here, it instantly saves 30 seconds of key audio as a highlight. I never miss important details. And you've got 50 hours non-stop recording on Note Pro, or 60 hours on standby. There's a smart display showing battery life, recording status, and file transfers, so you always know what's going on. Then, Claude turns it into structured notes, summaries, insights, to-dos, even analysis of power dynamics in the room. And with Ask Claude, your contextual AI assistant, you can draft emails, extract data, brainstorm, or find anything across past meetings. And you're safe knowing that your data is yours and completely private. Click the link in the video description to pre-order your Claude Note Pro. And if you'd like to experience Claude Intelligence even earlier, I've got a special offer for you. Use the code GB20 when ordering Claude Note and get 20% off. Carol, I'll start with you. Your initial take then on, that raft of stuff that we've seen from Shabana Mahmood today.
2 things. I'm loving everything you just said there. I'm loving everything that she's proposed. My scepticism is that this government did everything it possibly could when it was in opposition to scrap every single thing that the Tories put forward. We wouldn't have the problems we have today if they had kept the bill to turn people back with no papers. We wouldn't have the numbers of people coming in. I think she's now in that problem where it's her responsibility now. She's in charge and she realises how bad it is, unlike a lot of her compatriots. And I think she's quite serious about trying to do something about it. However, there's a part of me says she knows that all her Labour people aren't going to go for this. A lot of them today, I heard one guy say it was race. I heard another say it's dystopian, it's shameful. No, what is shameful is flinging open the doors of this country to anyone who wants to come and expecting working Brits to pay for them to have things that they don't have. That's what's shameful. And finally, she's got that, but sadly, it's too late. I mean, all these MPs who are saying, you know, it's terrible and they're going to vote against it, and they will vote against it. None of these things will go through. I mean, I should have made that clear. None of them will go through. They're not the ones paying for the immigrants coming here. It's us.
Jay, you've identified some concerns in this for you, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, so, I mean, look, on the face of it, it's something we should all support, particularly people who are concerned about this. Right, GB News viewers have real concerns about this. There's two things I think we should think about. So, first of all, I think this is going to tear the Labour Party apart. I agree with Carol. I think the likelihood of them getting this over the line in any meaningful way resembling what they've announced today is minuscule. Where you have 18 Labour MPs publicly saying they are not going to back it, trust me, I've been in Parliament. There's 100 who are quietly saying to the whips in the background, you need to water this down. I think it's going to be watered down a lot. And the other thing, it sounds quite good. Quite a lot of it's still quite gimmicky. So you think, just a few months ago, we were on the show reacting to, the one in, one out policy. It seemed on the face of it very good. To put that into context, since that came in, 16,500 migrants have arrived in the UK, and we've sent 100 back. So a lot of the things in this are gimmicky like that. So, for example, the idea that you only give people leave to remain for 30 months, on the face of it, seems like a good idea. But what she hasn't said, it's for the Home Office to prove that that country is not safe. There's no presumption that you will be returned to your country. That will never happen. No judge in this country, if they're taken to court, will ever say, we accept that these countries are safe. I cannot name one country that the Home Office, in the case of illegal migration, has taken from the unsafe list and put it back on the safe list, and we have returned migrants to it. So there are all sorts of problems. As I say, this looks great on the face of it. I support lots of what she's trying to do. I think the implementation will fail.
Let's have a little look at this. Is just a couple of the at least 18 Labour MPs who now openly oppose what Shabana Mahmood tried to do today.
It's shameful that a Labour government is ripping up the rights and protections of people who have endured unimaginable trauma. Is this how we'd want to be treated if we were fleeing for our lives? Of course not.
The Home Secretary is arguing that what will heal this divided nation is to get somebody who we have agreed is a refugee with a well-founded fear of persecution to feel a permanent sense of limbo, because they will never be able to plan for the long term for them or their family.
Can I say a couple of things about that, right? I get quite annoyed when I see, especially younger female lefties, really, talking about the virtues of our, asylum and refugee policy and all of that. And what annoys me about that is that, frankly, when you see these crimes like these rapes that are committed and the sexual assaults that are committed and all of that stuff, they seem to be very, very blind to that. And that winds me right up. But
and also, Paddy, they're talking to us like we're religious. They're presuming that every single person who comes here is a genuine refugee, when we know that is not the case.
And Benjamin, so to add to that, I mean, Jeremy Corbyn, obviously now the leader of your party, whatever that is these days, he's gone from one party, by the way, that's been accused of anti-Semitism to one now that's being accused of Islamophobia. So it's a great record for Jezza. But he's called it, quotes, absolutely disgusting. The lawyers are going to be all over this like a rash. They're not actually going to be able to do any of this, are they?
No, I don't think that's a fair reflection. I mean, Stella Creasy, the Labour MP at the end of the clip, only a couple of weeks ago, someone very senior in Downing Street described her as the most irrelevant Labour MP. She is a faction of one, and so I don't think this is a great rebellion.
18 tonight. But
18 people is about 10% of Labour's majority, so it's a very long way off being able to stop this. And I also know that because Labour are so low in the polls, they're looking at something like 15% on bad days, there is a real sense among recently elected Labour MPs that they will do anything to turn that around.
So do you support the taking of possessions off people who've just arrived on the boat so we can fund their accommodation?
I do.
Well, I mean, Shabana Mahmood has said the idea that they'll be taking jewellery is not quite what she means by this. I think she posted that earlier today. But, I do think the idea that you would take someone's wedding ring off their finger, or, you know, a necklace they inherited from their dead parent. It would be a horrible way to behave and not okay.
Would it indeed? Because these people have paid 3 to 4 grand to get over here, so they have
Often
money.
they're slaves.
They have money. Slaves don't have 3 to 4 grand, Benjamin.
That's
so
the point.
If you've got that kind of money, if you have that kind of money to come to this country illegally, you have money to pay for your own board and keep when you get here. So.
Well, I would say 2 things. One is that a great many of these people find themselves in modern-day slavery in Britain because they don't have the thousands of pounds. That's why Theresa May...
You're invoking Article 3 now yourself.
That's why Theresa May, in a Conservative government, changed the law to protect those people. And also, of course, they probably spent every last penny. I think they should repay it when they can. Okay. But I don't like the idea that you
wouldn't take a wedding ring. What if someone had an expensive watch?
You wouldn't take that off.
Would you take a gold Rolex away?
I think that would probably be fine. But
so why is that? If that was your father's watch, why is that different than your mother's ring?
Well, I was going to make the point that the sentimentality, the idea that you're taking someone's wedding ring, for example, I think is not a way for Britain to behave.
What about the mother's wedding?
The idea that you can have assets and you can come here and you'd expect people, the working people of this country, to pay for you when you have assets is wrong.
So if someone started bombing, you know, London and you had to flee to France, you'd think you'd be okay for someone to steal your wedding ring, for the state to take that off you?
No, they would. I mean, I would expect it.
It's a
stupid analogy.
I think that's another important thing here, which is that today it was revealed that data from the Department of Work and Pensions shows that there are 112,000 people with refugee status who are claiming universal credit, or at least were, as of December 2024, which is equivalent to 66% of all adults with refugee status. So that's from the Department of Work and Pensions, that the equivalent of 66% of all adults with refugee status in Britain are were, as of December 2024, claiming universal credit. So will Shabana Mahmood's plans stop that? Are they going? Because that's my understanding.
I mean, it's so unusual for these doctors and engineers who are coming over on the dinghies to be claiming universal credit. But, you know, going back to the point of this, whatever Shabana Mahmood says, I'm not sure that either she or Keir Starmer will be in place long enough to see this through. The Labour Party is having a cold civil war, which I think from tonight, as you've seen with 18 people coming out against this, has become a hot civil war. It's a battle between the hard left of the Labour Party and the centre left of the Labour Party. This will be the match thrown into the tinderbox, which will make that go up in smoke.
All right, well, look, I know what a lot of people at home will be thinking, which is, well, is any of this going to be legal? Every single time we appear to have tried anything to get anyone out of the country, there is a ready supply, a militia, really, of human rights lawyers who are more than willing to try to stop this. So next...
Most of them are in government now.
Yeah, exactly. And now one of them is the Prime Minister, anyway. But